we're at now.
Well, that's why she's here.
Yep,
because
all right,
I
but
said
that's
there has to be a
14,
process,
15,
but-
16 years ago.
So we've never used the
but
property.
We've never used it, but we have to be careful because the Department of Health,
Well, I was just gonna ask, how close is the property to the well?
well, that's like, the Department of Health, you would have to go through them. And the distance, because we have a secondary well that was drilled, and then you have to be careful of what the Department of Health says, distance-wise, you have to maintain from your secondary well for a safe distance. So whatever you do, you have to go through the Department of Health.
And my other question, is it just one person looking to purchase it, or is it a group?
So each neighbor wants what's behind their house, except for the one between me and the gray house. There's a gray house right next to Henry.
So it all have to be split.
They don't want
Surveyed.
nothing.
those people have had, like you have, you've had horses on that property for how long?
God, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, so they've all had free use of that property. That's why nobody wants to come, I mean,
I'm not opposed to it, I think we'll just have to get the maps and.
No, well, yeah, there would be
Yeah,
a
you have
process,
to
and
survey
that's
it.
why.
But there is a right of way, but there is a right of way the town owns between Robbie Anger and the house next to him. The town owns a right of way, or actually owns the property out to University Avenue.
That's on the other side.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, there is a town property out there, yep.
I guess something we look at next month when we have some maps.
Yep.
some information.
No,
Okay, I can get all that
Thank you for
information.
bringing it.
we had to get it started. to-
Thank you very much. Wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Is anybody opposed to opening the windows? Drop it down, 20, 30 to get,
I
no?
don't know if
They,
they'll-
they look like they got them on there.
We can get the skeeters.
I think that's pretty good.
We're about to find out.
Look at that.
Jan, does he have an idea of exactly
Yeah, down.
how much foot it?
Yeah, it's down at the bottom, the average 2.2.
0.2565 acres. It's a, give or take a quarter of an acre. According to Valerie.
This one you'd wanna, how would you go about doing this one when you're just selling off? This would probably be a private sale, and you're just selling off a small section of town property.
It's that,
Or
where
on
our
Miller
bus
Street.
garages, where the, Wilcox, well, you probably don't know, Wilcox Street goes down and it's a steep slope and there's
Where the town barn is.
the
You
town.
familiar
barn.
with the village?
Vaguely, yeah.
You're coming into town.
That's where the town.
The first house on the right, if you're headed to Cohocton, is this.
It's the last one before Oak
And
Street.
what he wants is just to square his lot off.
What's this?
This is town property.
Right, but what's it used for?
This
That's
is
the
where the
town
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 barn is.
barns.
But he's looking to buy a portion of the bank.
It's
It's,
just,
it's all a real steep bank that goes down to the town buildings, the town barn and garage.
That's probably not abandoned then, is it? If it's being used for
No.
a town barn?
well,
well,
it's not usable.
This-
I mean, I know that you got that triangular piece and.
This piece is so steep, you can't use it for anything.
What's he gonna use it for then? Why does he
He
want
needs
it?
it
Well, he wants
tiny
it
bit more to
Just,
build a garage.
Oh, I see.
He does, his lot's not big enough.
yeah, I don't know
So
whether he
if
wants to
has
put a new garage or take the older one down or add on to the
It's not really
garage he's got.
abandoned, I mean, it's just the way the property is, Dave. It's just kind of where they
So
stop
Steve,
storing
nobody
their.
wants
It's
to
not
use it.
It's where they
usable,
stop
it's
storing,
not.
right around where they stop storing the sand and all that stuff, and then it just goes straight up to.
And Valerie actually looked at it, this map, and said that this would probably be the easiest way for him, just to square his lot off. So, and I took it to him, and he said, yeah, he would do that. He's actually buying more than he needs or wants.
Did you go to Richie to make sure, did you go to Richie? Because he's talking
Yes,
about
he
a
was-
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
are,
we
he
talked to
doesn't.
Richie. Richie has no problem.
It's not usable for him.
No, it's not usable. You couldn't even log it really because
It'll all go down to one of the town.
pick them up down at the bottom of the bank. So I will make a motion that we sell .2565 acres, give or take, to Adam Fisk in a private sale with Valerie to set the price because she's knows what it's worth.
Can we do that?
Would he have to get it surveyed? Somebody would have to survey that section
And
off
he
first.
has agreed that he would pay for the survey.
And you can do that, Attorney Miller?
You want to,
Private
if
sale
you
it's
want to
not
declare that,
abandoned?
that chunk of property abandoned,
Yeah.
Technically, it's the hill. I don't, the town probably never used
I'm
it.
sorry?
I think we probably-
It's a hill, and the town's never used it, that I know of. But the property itself is still used, so I don't know if you
the
can
major
consider-
part of it is being
90% of the
Oh, yeah,
property is being used, so I
absolutely.
don't know if you can just say I'm only abandoned, we haven't used it, that 10% is abandoned.
Yeah, well,
Seems like a gray area.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, that's not a
how-
bad place to be sometimes.
I'm not sure how much of it he's actually using for his lawn, but I'm sure some of it, so. And actually one of the nicer looking houses in the village.
It is.
I think Mr. Miller would need to look into
Yeah,
that
I
one
know.
for us.
I'm sorry?
I think you would need to look into that one for us on how we could sell that.
Well, it's either or. If the property is not abandoned, then you need to go through a public sale. If the town board finds that that corner, that chunk there is essentially abandoned, then it can be sold at a private sale. No matter which way you go, you're subject to, the sale is subject to a permissive referendum.
But can you declare a small portion of property abandoned?
That's what you folks are elected to do. I'm telling you what the statute says, and it offers absolutely no guidance as to
Spoken like a true lawyer.
what's abandoned or what's not abandoned. It's always a question of fact.
I mean, factually speaking, I doubt the town's ever done anything on that hill,
Ever,
ever.
ever has, ever will.
Can you think of anything, Jack?
No,
On that
and
bank?
I didn't want to
It's all
interject, but
loose dirt.
many years ago, because I'm pretty old, but that, I believe we ran into the same situation with Rich Rosari in his property in the
He backs
village.
up to that, too.
And that same situation that the attorney's talking about, he requested, he needed some land in the back of his, and we did the same type of situation. And so that he could build a garage out back.
Yep.
And we did the same type of situation, probably 15 years
But
ago.
you guys, the town actually owns pretty far
Yes,
up that bank.
but in order for him to do that, we did that same thing.
Did you abandon it first, then? Or you just sold?
I'm too old for that. But I know that it's not the first time that has come about because of that property just going straight down, that it was literally of no use to the town, and that it only served the purpose of the people that lived right on that borderline. So I don't know how the whole thing worked, but I believe at the end of the day, it worked out.
So I don't have a problem considering it abandoned, but should we get it surveyed before we figure out what section's abandoned?
I don't wanna pay for a survey, let him.
Well, Valerie did the math,
Yeah,
so we know how big of a lot it is. It's .2565 acres.
Well, wouldn't you want the buyer to survey that chunk? Not necessarily the whole
Right,
town barn property, but at least
Get the
that
description.
chunk that he's interested in.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Because that's gonna help a lot in making a legal description to
I
put
mean,
in
I'm
the
all
deed.
for the abandonment, but I think the surveying needs to be done first.
All right,
And then, I mean, I think majority of the boards and everybody's in agreement that this is the right thing to do, we're not using that, and it's
I'll
no
talk
good
to
use.
Adam tomorrow and tell him go ahead and get it surveyed, and then we'll abandon it so we can sell it to you.
Does anybody else see an issue
Or
with
we
it?
can do it as a public sale, then also, right?
Yeah, but you run the risk of somebody outbidding them by $1.
Well, who's gonna bid on landlocked property?
Well, you can do it either,
Stranger things in this town have happened.
you can do it either way. If the town feels that that piece has been abandoned, a public sale is not necessary.
No,
If you
Or you
can-
don't have
But
to
I think-
accept sealed
But you
bids
need the
then?
I
survey.
don't think it would be fair to him to ask him to pay to have it surveyed
To go to a public
and
sale.
then go
Put it
through a
up for an
public
auction.
sale.
I'd rather do the private sale
Right.
on this one,
Right,
personally.
but we need the survey.
Okay, I think at some point, any motion to proceed with this ought to include a finding that this piece of property has been abandoned, and that the town can therefore proceed with a private sale
And we'll do that after it's surveyed.
after he's surveyed.
Right.
Okay.
So theoretically, we could do the same thing for the property on
University,
University
yeah.
too.
That's just gonna be multiple
But that
private
would
sales.
be, that's gonna be, they'd all have to come in and do, we'd have to do the same procedure,
Yeah.
but that's what could be done.
Yep.
The spectrum agreement we looked at a month or so ago, and I think we discussed that, we thought 15 years was a little bit too much, but I got a phone call from them a week or so ago, and we have to have a public hearing on that prior to adopting that, so.
I think, excuse me, I think the proposed term was 15 years, not 10?
Right, it was 15.
Yeah, okay.
No. And that was the only, did you see anything else in there?
Well, I
that-
think the question was raised, is the franchise agreement exclusive or non-exclusive? And it's non-exclusive, so that if another company came in and wanted to have a franchise agreement with the town would be free to do so, with the proviso that the second franchise agreement has to be substantially the same terms as Spectrum's. You can't give one company more favorable treatment over the other. And one thing that caught my attention was they don't propose to pay anything for this franchise.
Correct.
Is that the status of the current franchise agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can add a franchise fee to the agreement of X number of dollars, if you don't mind me interrupting. But you can, in the proposal, you can set a fee for the franchise. And what literally happens is anybody that's in that franchise area of Spectrum, say it's $10, whatever it is, they're gonna send it to, who do you think? Us. So, so we never added the franchise fee in there, only because we knew it was gonna be passed on to the consumer.
And that's in the contract that states that.
Yes.
So we need to set a public hearing because that has to be to them before the end of December, so.
But you're gonna change it to 10 years,
Right, well,
right?
if that's the agreement, we didn't ever decide that we wanna change it to 10 years instead of 15 years, or if it's not competitive, it doesn't really make any difference.
If it's not, as long as other companies can
Yeah,
come in.
They can.
So we'll just leave it as it is, but and we have to schedule a public hearing, which we could schedule for our next meeting.
I'm good with that.
I'll make a motion that we set a public hearing and advertise it for our meeting, which will be October 19th, 2021.
about 7 PM.
Yeah, yeah, 7 PM. Is there a second?
Second.
There's
Any-
3 of them, pick which one you want.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Deb Matthews called Tay this week and said that they cannot finish the dog census this year, so they are going to extend it over. I know they started it, they said they've been extremely busy and there's no way to get it finished, so just letting everybody know, and we'll have to, deal with that with the budget and just move it over to next year, but they're not gonna get it finished this year. Richie came in and, the old dump truck, which we're supposed to, send to auction, Woodhull, who lost all of their equipment in the flood, is desperate for trucks, and they came and they would like to buy it if it's at all possible. I don't know, and I was waiting to talk to you about circumstances in a situation like that. They lost all their highway equipment.
Sounds like an emergency.
It is an emergency, so in that case, are we able to, Richie has a price in mind. I thought it was a little high, but, he
People
said.
paying an emergency.
Well, yeah, well, I feel bad, I don't wanna gouge people in terrible trouble, but, for a fair price, I mean, a fair market price, we could just
Sell-
let them buy it.
Sell it for a fair price.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, the highway supervisor was waiting for our meeting for us to say we would be willing to do that.
I would prefer to sell it to Woodhull.
Well,
Then
I
put it
would
up to
certainly,
auction.
yeah.
They are in desperate need down there, so.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I don't wanna say the price, but it's more than we got for the other truck. This is a year newer, but the box, he said, is not in good shape. He thinks they could get a year out of it, but he's talked to the guy, but they're just, they have nothing, so. I don't know if we wanna set a minimum or just let Richie,
Say Richie's gonna know, so
Yeah.
I'd make the motion, let Richie decide, and that the board would prefer first dibs to Woodhull.
well, that would, we would just sell it to them if they, I mean, unless they're not willing to pay what we think we can get for it.
I guess I would make a motion that we allow Richie to negotiate the price to sell that truck to them, because I believe he will get the best price he can for it. And probably more than we could get at auction. I know he's already been in contact with them, and they're desperate, so.
Oh, yeah, they need vehicles.
Even if they come back with a price that's $5,000 less than he's offering it to them, that's still $5,000 more than we got for the other dump truck, so I'm thinking Richie's a pretty good negotiator.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Officer Barnhart, you're up.
Okay. I sent you all an email. I'm sure you all read it. I would like the approval or the appointment to hire 2 officers. We have one officer that does mainly court. We have another officer that is out on personal leave. I don't know when he's gonna come back. I don't know what his situation is. It just leaves me and Officer Skinner. I have 2 qualified guys ready to go. I sent the email on advice from a past board member. So that's where we are on that. I have other things to discuss also. One is Officer Little, the other one is Officer Terry. Officer Terry works for me in Wayland. He used to be a teacher in Houston, and then he moved up this way 4 to 5 years ago.